please.
Yes.
For Dissidia.
Okay, let's get started with this.
Can you just confirm me that there is save file done? Press select.
It says save complete is circle to get back.
Okay, cool. Then, can you give me a countdown?
Okay, starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, and
Might I be too late? I can take you on if you wish.
so the pre-prologue are 4 fights that we're going to go through. That's the first of the 4.
I can take you on if you wish.
That's the second one.
And the pre-prologue fights are pretty straightforward.
We know how this will end.
Basically the same. That's the third fight.
So the tricky part here is mostly making sure you actually hit
We
your
know
enemy.
how this will end.
That is the 4 fights of the pre-prologue done blindfolded.
Yes. Now we're coming to the actual prologue.
And this is where things get hard.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Then
Okay.
so this is where the prologue actually starts, and you can tell a little bit about the map system because I don't see it. So
Okay, so basically, as we're going to go through the prologue, we're going to get a bit of an introduction to the map system that this game uses. Basically, every single time you do, or you get into a chapter, you get a bit of a map that you have to navigate your way through all the way to the end. The end of each of the maps, there's this statue of either Chaos or Cosmos, depending on the chapter. Usually it's Chaos. And once you break that thing, you're basically done with that specific chapter. First one's very straightforward, it's just always, going all the way to the right, but they'll get more tricky as we go along.
the AI in the prologue is actually a little bit more intelligent than in the pre-prologue, so they actually try to defend themselves. There we have our first enemy.
Yeah, so here we see 3 things on the board. We see the enemy, a potion, and the statue that we need to destroy.
We'll fight with all our strength.
Okay, good first fight.
This victory will be remembered.
So the potion will fully restore your HP, as well as completely fill up your the bar you see next to the Warrior of Light here. That's used for your special ability, the X Gouge, and once you use it, you get into X mode for a short duration of time, which allows you to use a lot more powerful moves. Okay, time for the third prologue chapter. Luckily, the maps in the prologue are fairly straightforward, so they're pretty easy to navigate even while blindfolded.
Quickly want to remind you that if you want to change my fate, then you can still donate for the... Oh, yep.
Okay, so this is where it gets hard, because if you miss, it can snowball into the problem that you just keep on missing. Luckily, Inde was able to quickly recap there and actually get those hits in.
So yeah, get your donations in, because we cut the first character right after the final fight of the prologue, which is like 2 or 3 more fights.
Yeah, we're getting on, or we're getting pretty close to the end of the prologue. So you'll want to, if you want to still change the character, at least for the first of the 2 characters, be sure to get that in like as soon as possible.
If you want to have my honest opinion, Warrior of Light is a very boring character. I really love him, but all the other stories are really shit. So if you want to torture me, donate for everything except Warrior of Light. Okay. So in the next fight, in the next stage, I have 2 battles. If I enter one, I get chained with the second one, which I'm gonna flee because it's technically faster.
So heroes matter, just go all the way to the right till you can't go no more, and then start the battle.
This victory will be remembered.
So fleeing loses you 2 DP, but for the run, for this run in particular, it won't really come into play to lose that. Okay, so the Chocobo you saw there means on the next fight he's going to get an EXP bonus. You'll notice that Chocobo pop up a few times. Sometimes you'll see it with a music note, and sometimes you'll see it with a carrot. The carrot is a higher EXP bonus than the music note. That's just a general way of how that works. Okay, last of the prologue chapters.
Yep. There will be one more chest before, and then it's time for the fight. And even though it is just a copy of Garland, the stigma looks actually like a boss stigma.
Yeah, so the stigma at the end is basically that statue of chaos. If it looks fully black or fully white in the case of Cosmos, it means that it's a boss stigma, meaning that the fight on there is going to be significantly harder. This one in particular isn't too bad, but later on you'll see that some of the bosses get pretty difficult.
Light. So we'll get ready on time for the prologue.
This is it.
So there we go. There was the prologue, and that was the end of the blindfolded part.
Okay, we have a €5 donation from the V Warrior of Light saying, "Don't ignore me, Indy. You and me belong together." Thank you for your generous donation. And with that, the Warrior of Light is currently heavily in the lead.
Okay, if you want to see the most boring story in this whole game, then feel free.
Yeah, we're gonna do it because the first one is gonna get cut off right now. So
I'm gonna update this once, and then we'll see who won.
Okay. So, oh wait. One thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy this save, so I actually can use this save file for the second character, so we don't have to do the prologue again. Okay, so my dear host, please confirm who will be the first character.
Our winner is the Warrior of Light.
okay, let's get started.
Okay.
At
Are you ready?
€33.20.
And
We
go.
also have 2 more donations. One from Dr. Paranoid saying, "Watch the events a lot, never donated. Have 2 now as a duchy. Granddad is terminal at the moment, and sister-in-law just got pronounced to be cured. Thank you for all your efforts, and let's hope for a cancer-free world not too far from now. Kill the humans. Goats rule." My apologies, Dr. Paranoid. We
So-
also have a €15 donation from RP Guy saying, "Good luck, Indy. I'm still on my way back to BSG." Thank you for your €15 donation.
Okay, so now that we've actually started the story, we're gonna do a little bit of equipment, get that out of the way, and then it's on to the actual story here, or the actual fighting here, and making our way through these chapters. So basically, every single one of these stories has about 5 chapters that we have to go through. The last chapter will always end in a big boss fight, which I think is always like the antagonist of the game that you're
Exactly, yeah.
of the character that you're playing. So the antagonist that we'll be fighting at the end will be Garland. Along the way, however, we will encounter some other difficult fights and another boss fight as well, which can basically be from any Final Fantasy. So here, even though he could immediately go to the end, he actually opted, or he actually has that plate in blocking his path. And in order to get there, he needs to defeat all of these enemies. He put himself in such a position that he could just chain those enemies, because that way you don't have the problem of having to move more, which loses you DP.
Yeah. And it's just faster to chain them. And
it's just faster in general as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation to chain them together here.
Also, Quill already told about the bosses. This is actually a really nice reference, because they tried to make the story from each character kind of like related to their original stories. And like in FF1, we gonna fight Garland twice. Okay, that was
It's a bit of a clutch hit, but it works. It works.
It works, I guess. So yeah, we're gonna have to fight Garland first. He's our first boss, like in FF1. And then at the end, we have to fight him again, but then he's much stronger. And then some other bosses on the way. Okay. It's the first Garland fight. Also in this game there are 2 different types of attacks. Bravery attacks, which you do normally with Circle, and HP attacks. The amount of HP damage you do depends on the amount of bravery you have. You see this big number above the blue line? This is basically my bravery. And every time I do a bravery attack, I first steal the bravery from an enemy. So I want to try to break him, which means that he doesn't have any more bravery, and I get the big number in the middle, which is like the bonus. Okay.
Yeah, so you'll notice with these kind of boss fights, like they have significantly more health as well than the regular enemies we fought. So this is that special ability that I mentioned. He's now in X mode, which means as soon as he gets a hit in, he can chain that with his most powerful attack, which aside from the fact that he's dealing a lot more criticals, allows you to just deal a lot more damage in general, which allowed him to not need an additional attack to kill Garland here.
So this is the first chapter done. Actually, the Warrior of Light is the hardest story of all, because you have to fight 5 bosses, one at the end of each stage, and in general you have to fight way more battles. But even though if you're underleveled, you can still beat them if you do it properly. The problem about being underleveled is that your enemy depends on how much levels he's above you. He gets a bravery bonus. So if he's like 10 level above me, then he has more basic bravery than I have. So he can deal a lot more damage than I can do. Okay.
Nice dodge there.
We can also do bonus damage when I do an HP attack and then crush him into the wall. Oh, nice. And all these minions are copies from actual characters, like this one was Kafka.
The light is always with me.
But the original ones are much stronger and a little bit more tricky. And on this stage you also see some new enemies. You see this normal silver one. These are just the basic ones. They are pretty weak.
Give me strength.
And the ones with the swords behind their backs are basics, but a little bit more stronger. The yellow one you will see in a bit. These enemies are pretty nasty. Even though they have only 1 HP, they deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, the thing with those enemies in particular is they may only have 1 HP, but they are really good at dodging, and they are just in general really quick. So it's really hard to actually get a hit in. Once you get a hit in, though, you can actually just instantly kill them.
Okay.
This victory will be remembered.
And on this stage we have 2 locked areas on the top, 2 locked areas on the bottom. I always try to take the upper way, since there's a potion, so in case I don't get my X bar filled, which I definitely want to have for the final fights.
I must endure this.
This is the Onion Knight. Where's the Carbuncle? There it is. So enemies can also have summons. In that case, Carbuncle, which basically gave him my my bravery. No, he gave me his bravery. So there we go. Which means now I have 0 bravery. I have to do now 2 attacks. Yeah, this doesn't work.
So yeah, this is just where these enemies become incredibly tricky. Like I said, they're really hard to hit, but once you hit them, they won't actually live very long.
The light shall never fade.
If you do an HP attack right after he blocked or he did an attack, then he's pretty weakable, so you can just go for it, and mostly it works most of the time. Okay.
So the EX bar gouge was not completely filled, so here he used the potion to not just so much restore his health, because he didn't really have damage on him, but more so in order to fill up that EX gouge, which will allow him to significantly faster beat Sephiroth.
This is one of the hardest fights in this whole story, because he just tends to block a lot. I'm gonna first try to maybe...
Give me strength.
Okay, please.
Shine brighter.
Okay, nice break.
Give my all.
Okay, let's go.
Should be...
So you're getting the perfect here, it's not enough to kill, but at least they got you a good way there. So yeah, doing your special ability, you also will be able to pretty much always hit a critical. During the ability itself, you get a set amount of things that you have to do, and it kind of depends per character how you have to do it. With the Warrior of Light in particular, is you have to hit a certain arrow key in a very short time span. Okay, nice. So he now is again in his X mode, so he was able to unlock it a second time, which means if he can get a hit in, then he'll have a good chance to kill off Sephiroth here with his ability. Okay, there we go.
Oh, nice. That was a very nice fight.
Definitely, very good fight against Sephiroth. These fights mainly have the problem that because they are so good at dodging and blocking your attacks, the fights themselves just tend to drag on a lot if you even survive them. I remember in my first few runs, I died a lot on these fights.
Okay, coming to the third stage. This is actually the only stage where the boss fight is not at the end, but in the middle. And all the stories are they're basically the same but look different. For example, on this third stage, you will always see summon. This is the big red stone, and those are the auto summons. So as soon as I hit a specific condition, I get a specific effect. In that case, this summon is actually pretty good because it's Ifrit. Every time I break my enemy, my bravery gets multiplied by 1.5, so basically 50%. Oh, and this Golb is one of the worst characters in the game. He's pretty strong. Okay, this was a very good fight.
Yeah, that is a really solid fight here.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yes, that
very
was
well
a
done.
very, very good fight. I remember doing a Cecil playthrough, or like Cecil run, and there you have to fight Golbus 3 times. Even though the second one is not the hardest one, Golbus tends to be very, very evil in this way. So speaking about evil, this is Kuja. Yeah, I those up that. I'm gonna get my X-Bar full now. This is some pretty nice RNG, because they can also dodge here, which he didn't, luckily. But
yeah.
Especially during these chase scenes, they can either dodge or not dodge, and I can, if it's my turn, I can either do like a bravery attack, HP attack, or just don't do anything, so the escape will get bored. Right, this is now Ifrit. I'm gonna equip it, and please remind me that I have to unequip Ifrit after this fight.
Will do. So yeah, lots of tutorial-like things that we're getting here as we still get started, since this is the first time we actually entered the menu.
I'm also using one of my abilities, Mazer Eye, which makes the ultimate effect a little bit faster, especially since... Can you please go, Wasp?
Yeah, there's some wasp literally flying around it. It's really annoying.
But yeah, I use my ability, but I can fill it up again. And... So, there we go, there's Ifrit. Oh, okay. It was unnecessary, but can quickly end it, and that's the ultimate fight.
A very good boss fight still, though.
Yeah.
Very, very quick way to get rid of her.
I mean, in combination with the X-Burst and Ifrit, this is very, very fast. And I try to get, for all these end boss fights, always my X-Burst, because it's just way fast. I can deal a lot crits. A lot more crits. There we go. So.
Did you unequip it?
No. See? I always do this. Never mind. Then we do it a little bit slower. In this fight.
So here I'm assuming you just want to store your...
Exactly.
Which is why he's not actually going to break the enemy, but rather just kill him with regular attacks.
There's... sorry?
It takes a little bit longer to do so, but storing the summon for later on will still save time further down the line.
That was some heavy damage. No! Okay. Okay. I deserve that, no worries.
Would it be worth it to get out of the battle now and
yeah, let's just not mind. I mean, I have to fight this enemy anyway, but the reason why I don't, why I want to equip this, all these summons can be used only for multiple times, but not always. These auto summons I can use 3 times, and then they need, I think, 3 bells to recharge. And with 3 boss bells upcoming, well, now only 2 more, I wanna spare Ifrit for the last boss fights. There we go.
yeah, you just want to save your summons for the fights where they actually matter, because the earlier you use them, the less useful, the less use you'll actually end up getting out of them. Because the boss fights is where the real challenges are at. And one thing I don't think we've actually mentioned yet, at the start of the run, you may have noticed he actually set a certain day. And that has a very good purpose as well. That day is set as his bonus day, which is the day that you get bonuses on like your EXP, your PV, your DP. No, not your DP. But you get a bonus on pretty much everything. And the reason that that is as useful as it is mostly just has to do with the experience. As we go along, we'll be getting a lot of experience, and or if it's your bonus day, you'll be getting much more experience than if it wouldn't be.
I mean, it's just like 10%, but those can actually matter.
Yeah, 10% over the course of the entire run tends to nicely add up here.
So I'm gonna refill my ability. We go into the 4th stage. Quickly want to remind you that after we finish this story, then we go to the 2nd character, and maybe Snapper can tell us who is currently in the lead and how they can change it. Oh, he's not? Maybe? Oh, he's looking. Oh, sorry. Okay, 4th stage. This is actually a pretty quick one, because I technically only have to battle once.
Okay, Sniper, again, can you please tell us which character is currently in the lead and how people can change that lead?
Oh, no.
So currently, for the 2nd character, Titus from Final Fantasy X is in the lead. And you can change that by donating for any of the characters. These include Zidane, Bartz, Cloud, Firion, Terra, Squall, Onion Knight, and Cecil. Or Titus if you want to keep him in the lead. And whichever character gets the most donations will be selected for the 2nd character. So be sure to get your donations in if you want to see any other character.
Light never fades.
Actually, if you want to have my honest opinion, Titus is a very good choice. Zidane is also very good. Klaus is pretty fast. Yeah, there are many more characters we haven't seen at the BSG. And if you want to see a specific character, I recommend you to do it, because, little spoiler, this will be probably the last time, at least for a while, I'm doing this kind of Dissidia bid war at the BSG. But
because recently you've been working on a certain other category of this game as well, haven't you?
Exactly, on the 80% category, which I mean, I would have done it earlier on the BSG, but it included a big grinding session, which now is basically not existing anymore. So 80% might have his appearance at the BSG pretty soon. Ish.
Yeah, so the thing with That's a bad break right there. That hurts. See, the thing is, recently, Indy and a couple of other people as well have been working on the any percent route for this. So up until I want to say about like a month ago, the time for any percent was at like 3 hours, and it included about like an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of grinding. It was an incredibly high grind-heavy category. But then we figured it was actually on the way back from ESA. We were talking about it, and we were like, okay, well, we can probably cut down that time very significantly. Like that feels like a time that I at the time already mentioned can go down at least an hour, and by this point it actually has gone down quite a bit more than an hour.
It's like now at 1:37, I think.
Yeah, something like that. It's basically the time has been cut in almost by half, and that just goes to show how the any percent route is coming along, and it's now finally getting to a point where it's starting to become viable for marathons as well. So we may have a chance of actually seeing that run in the foreseeable future.
So this is the Emperor from FF2, and Bull, you have experience with him, right?
Yeah, we'll be seeing him later on in the week actually. But I remember this one time at a BSG, the Emperor tends to never be kind during BSGs. This one time during a BSG, during FF2, I was actually like 15 minutes ahead of PB, 20 minutes ahead of PB, and then I got into the Emperor 2 fight, and he is just a massive troll. There's really not much more to it than that. Emperor, in that sense, is he's just awful. Luckily for this, that's a bit of a shame. I don't think he would have gotten a kill, but that's still a bit of a shame. But yeah, the Emperor just tends to troll you a lot. Luckily, the Warrior of Light is pretty good in dealing with the Emperor, but it's still a pretty nasty fight all in all. He's got some pretty powerful spells going for him.
As long as you don't use Starfall, which is like the worst spell he can use. Yep. That was the Starfall. Oh. He and his flares.
Yeah, Flare is quite nasty as well. Okay,
Go.
nice. There we go. That is the Emperor down. That gets us to the last chapter, I believe.
Yes.
So when you want to cut it off, as we go into the boss of the last chapter?
I would say as soon as we finish the boss, because that boss fight can actually take a little bit. So
that's fair. So yeah, get ready on the cutoff for the second character for Final Fantasy, for Dissidia.
Yeah, and the bit more in total. So like I said, if you want to change it, go for it now.
So I guess I should probably explain what the story of Dissidia is even about. It's kind of about there's been this fight, the eternal fight between light and dark, cosmos and chaos. Cosmos, from the perspective of light, she's actually been losing this battle. And it's now up to the 10 warriors of the light, the 10 warriors of Cosmos, to find their crystals so that they can actually grow their power and you know, defeat chaos once and for all. The problem with that is that in order to get their crystal, they need to overcome a challenge, and that challenge is related to like the character and their original Final Fantasy stories as well. So, for example, Terra from Final Fantasy VI, she's for her it's all about, you know, understanding who she is, because that's her struggle in Final Fantasy VI. I'm not sure about the Warrior of Light. It's been a good while since I've played this story, but
to be honest, I don't really know, because the Warrior of Light, I mean, he doesn't really have a personality in the original game, but he has a personality in this game, and He is, well, he's a little douche, to say it really friendly. No, like really, he is like, you look a little bit suspect. You must be the darkness. I am gonna defeat you. Like, what? Why? This is nah.
Yeah, the game doesn't really explain that part, and it kind of goes along with how he is in Final Fantasy 1 as well. You defeat the darkness, but it doesn't really get explained what is behind that. But all in all, it's still
So this fight, and if I remember correctly, this should be. Still need to fill my X bar. Break.
Yeah, so with the hard fight against Garland coming up very soon, this is one of those places where you kind of want to have your X bar filled as you finish this fight. Okay, there we go. That's the X gouge filled up. Ooh, that's a bad break right there.
Ooh. Okay, now she used Alexander, which means she doesn't lose any bravery. Then we do it the slow way. Shining Wave! Shining Wave!
So yeah, because she can't actually lose bravery here, there's no real solid or viable way of dealing damage other than just, you know, getting as many hits in as possible. It's a pretty slow way to get her down, but it works.
If she goes into her X mode, this might be... Okay, actually can. Ah, come on. Oh.
Okay,
There we go.
that was pretty clutch, but I mean, she was in her X mode, so if Indy would have gotten hit, it would have lost a lot of time right there.
The light is
But luckily that didn't happen, so we can move on to the final boss. At least, are there any other battles here?
I don't... Oh yeah, that's okay. I need to do this one, yeah.
Okay, so it's still 2 battles left, and then we're cutting off the secondary character.
And it's again Golbus. And this fight went actually pretty well in my... Yeah. This is one of Golbus' worst attacks, because he's using this bubble, and with the second bubble he can like punch you into his first one, and then you ton of bravery. Oh. There we go.
Yeah, that should be enough for a kill. There we go. Solid fight all in all.
Okay. And now I'm gonna do a little shopping menu
the light is
to deal more damage and have a little bit more defense. Even though, well, defense doesn't really matter, since I don't want to get hit anyway. Okay.
So we're gonna turn Ifrit back on. That has a lot to do with just the fact that because of that, we'll be able to use that ability one more time on the next fight, which is quite useful as we go into this.
Right, that was awesome. Alright.
And while Indy is doing a shopping trip, I would like to remind you that we are running in support of the Dutch Cancer Society, an amazing charity which aims to prevent and fight cancer and alleviate the suffering of those already battling the disease. 90% of your donations will go directly towards the Dutch Cancer Society, so be sure to get your donations in.
So here we use the ability of the gear in order to already bring down his health a bit before the fight has even begun. There's especially for the final boss of this thing, that's quite useful.
Alright, time for Garland. You get ready on time.
Yep. So the reason we want to actually keep time for each of these individual stories as well is mostly on account of the original stories counting as separate categories.
And that's the time for the War of Light. So, and now, Sniper, please cut off the bit war and tell me which story we're gonna play.
The light shall never fade.
Actually, I'm gonna go back to the menu because we have finished that story. And I've done the save file, so we can go directly into it.
So the current winner is Titus from
Nice.
Final Fantasy X.
Okay, so we start with FF1, we finish with FF10.
We just skip everything that's in between.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the rest is...
Fair.
Just pretend it never happened.
Do you happen to know what the record is for Warrior of Light?
If you can give me the time, I can tell you if it's record or not.
I believe we're looking at a 32.
30! Yeah, this is definitely world record. This is definitely...
You'll have to count out the exact time yourself, but...
well, maybe Sniper can actually look the time. I think it's like a 35 or something. Or maybe someone actually can count the time properly. Okay, so you get ready.
Yep.
And... 36!
Yes, so...
Yeah, so...
That is a very significant improvement of the record.
I take that. Okay, so ties it is. So Krul already talked about that every character has his own story and has to, well, solve a problem depending on his origin. And, well, if you played FF10, you know that Titus has a little, well, battle with his father, because he never got appreciated by him, so he wants to show him that he's actually strong. And Titus is a completely different character.
This'll be over in a flash.
The reason we actually reloaded a save here, that might seem kind of odd because you could just go into the next story. But if you would keep, or if you do it on the already existing save, you'd be fighting with a, you'd have a lot of equipment and money that you would have gotten from the earlier battles. In order to prevent that causing potential advantages for different character story runs, we actually have set the rules in such a way that you're required at all times to do it off of basically a clean save where only the prologue has been done. So in order to make the second character story a valid run as well, we're opting to just load up a save with just the prologue completed. And I do believe Sniper quickly wants to go for a donation here, so go ahead.
We have a €15 donation from Dr. Paranoid saying, and another because you messed up their reading. Just kidding. Again, great going, everybody. I might even show up in person some events. We are really hoping to see you.
You want some of this?
And thanks to your donation.
So, this is another battle, and just gonna break him.
Now, this is a case if you want to break the enemy, being able to deal a lot more damage, and then you can actually go for the attacks. So you'll see here that the attack that he uses here, the special ability, is very different from that of the Warrior of Light.
Game set.
Good fight.
That was a very solid fight. Yeah, all the special abilities are related to their original ones, or like kinda. For example, Titus has this limit, well, like overdrive in FF10, where you have to hit the button at a specific moment. So this is the first chapter done. Also, I just realized that we have a lot of FF2 actually in this marathon, because we saw the Emperor in the Warrior of Light story. Spoiler, we're gonna see him in the Titus story, and we're gonna see him in FF2, so he was kinda nice to me so far. Let's see how it goes in the next spell, and let's see how it goes in FF2.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting one as well, to see how that'll go. I don't think the Emperor has ever been nice to me at a BSG before, so let's hope today, or let's hope later on in the week will be different.
Here it comes.
Anyway, again, this is a yellow mannequin, meaning that one hit will pretty much kill this thing, but getting a hit in is tricky in and of itself. Luckily, Indy got that very quickly, so again, pretty solid fight right here. This has been a pretty solid run so far for both of the stories, actually.
I mean, for Titus, it's way harder to actually PB and get the world record back, but I think that should be possible.
Yeah, recently the Dissidia community has really grown like fourfold, basically. Lots of people have been joining, possibly also on account of, you know, Dissidia NT coming out soon. But as such, especially for a lot of the characters, the times have been going down, but the times have also been improving very significantly. I think all in all, the runs tend to get a lot more optimized as we go along, and these battles tend to just go faster and faster with, as time goes on here.
So one thing we haven't mentioned yet, there is from every Final Fantasy the protagonist and one antagonist. And there's also from every Final Fantasy a map. Like, this one was the Rift from FF5, and some battles are actually easier if you're on a certain fight, or on a certain map. Like, characters like Zidane have really quick attacks, and use the chase ability very, very often. But if you're then on a map that has a lot of walls, which interrupt your chase move, then the fight becomes much more difficult.
Yeah, and there are maps that have a lot of walls going for them. I believe Pandemonium, for example.
Pandemonium, Kafka's Tower.
Kafka's Tower. Those are places where it's really difficult to properly do those kind of attacks and actually give chase. Whereas really open maps, such as the Cosmos area that we saw at the start, have a lot more freedom going for them, because there's not a lot of stuff blocking your way. So on to the third of the chapters for Titus here.
I'm gonna go the lower way, because those enemies are a little bit weaker than the top ones. And there you saw I smacked him into the wall with my bravery attack, with my HP attack, which deals 50% more damage.
Yeah, it's because of that he's now already low enough that he can pretty quickly kill off this fight, as long as he can get a hit in here.
I actually wanna get
So yeah, this is Pandemonium, so this is where you get to see, you know, like I said, there's a lot of walls in this area. This is probably one of the ones with the most things blocking your path. I think it's also in big part because of that that optimizing the runs and that the fact that it's been going down as much as it has, because a lot more people have been putting work to it, and that, you know, the estimate may have been on the high end for 2 stories, but that's in big part just also because it's really been going down, especially over the past month or two. But A couple of good people work on it. Smartkin has been working on it quite a lot, I think. Leonis has been putting some work in.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been closer to the community that I've been, so you probably know the others as well. I am missing a few, and I apologize for that.
Come on.
But hey, you know, since we were behind, it's gonna give us a good chance to catch up a good bit at least.
Definitely. I mean, I try my best. Just wanna... never mind. This fight is pretty...
It's a pretty slow fight so far, but there we go, there's the break, and that should be more than enough to get the kill. There we go. Pretty slow fight, but all in all, still getting through very, very quickly so far. It's been a good story.
Okay, I'm gonna take this fight. We get changed with the big one there. But that shouldn't matter because we don't play anyway.
Yeah, so these big ones are the ones you kind of don't want to fight unless you have to. They're not so much bosses, but they're not very far off. They tend to just be incredibly powerful enemies, and they just take a lot of time to actually get down. So again, X-Gouch filled up now, which is all just a setup for the next fight, which is going to be the boss, I believe.
Yeah, the Emperor.
An ace can never
Also, a
lose.
very fun fact is that both Cosmos and Chaos ordered 10 warriors from different worlds, and well, not exactly 10 because Cosmos actually, Cosmos actually ordered a few less. Cosmos ordered Jacked, and Titus was originally on the side of Chaos, as well as Cloud and Terra. There we go. But yeah, due to their origin stories, they changed their personality and found the right way.
Okay. So here we go, time for the Emperor again. Let's see how the second fight against the Emperor is gonna go.
Run amok. Here we go.
See here, it may have seemed a little bit weird that he didn't actually use his attack, but that's to keep up the ability to quickly hit criticals and just finish up the fight a lot faster here.
So I'm gonna let my ability run out, because that's actually a few seconds faster than actually hitting it. Right, this was the Emperor. Pretty good fight.
So that gets us to, so I believe the last chapter, if I haven't...
No, that's chapter 4.
Oh, wait, it's chapter 4, okay. My bad. I miscounted the chapters somewhere down the line. Still, only 2 chapters left to go, and then we're pretty much done here, so it's pretty much time to start wrapping this thing up.
Okay, so 4th chapter. Also an interesting thing is that Firion and Cloud travel together for a long time, and when they split up, Titus has to fight the Emperor very early, and Firion actually has to fight Jacked. And then at the end of their stories they swap, so Titus have to fight Jacked and Firion the Emperor.
Yeah, one thing you'll see is if you play through Dissidia, like we're kind of skipping through these cutscenes, but they kind of explain the story of how they're finding, you know, whatever they needed to find. and how they're overcoming their challenge. But each of the characters always travels with other characters, and you kind of see them team up in a way. Because of that, you can also kind of see who gets their crystals first and how they overcome their challenge, and then the next character will overcome theirs later on. It's really really tightly knit together, and it's really cool story to just go through. So this is one of those examples where, because the two characters split up, they fight the opposite bosses first, only to get to their actual bosses a little bit further down the line.
So, I want to break him first now, because he has exactly that one, which is Phoenix, which prevents him from getting a break. So actually... you might want to do it... this will take a little while.
Yeah, especially with that Phoenix in play, this tends to be a fight that can drag on quite a bit.
I mean, I can still deal damage, which is quite nice. Should be enough. Yes. Nice. So that's a fair fight. One thing I also want to mention about the 80% run. Like, for all these stories, you just do each story and then you finish it. And for 80%, you actually first have to finish one story, and then you get access to the actual story about chaos and the whole part of the darkness.
Yeah, once you've finished up a single story, you get access to the Shade Impulse, which is a couple of separate stories that you have to go through. I believe it's 4 different chapters. Yep. And once you finish the last chapter, you get access to the fight against Chaos, and that is a very difficult fight. I remember having seen you run that the first time you ran, the first few times you ran 80%. I remember fighting that boss myself. Even at level 99, I struggled actually getting him down. And in the 80% run, you do it significantly lower leveled as well. So it's an incredibly difficult fight, but it also makes for an incredibly good fight to watch.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasies tend to have a very anticlimactic end boss fight.
Yeah, at least for some of them they do. Like, some of the bosses or some of the final bosses are really cool to watch. If you take, for example, if you look at, for example, Final Fantasy VI, where you fight Kefka, that's a really, really difficult boss fight to fight. If you look at FF2, which, you know, like I said, will be seen later on this week, FF2, the final boss, as tough as he, or as much as he can kill you, it's not actually a very interesting fight. It's a very straightforward, very easygoing fight, unless he decides to troll you. And that goes with a lot of the... or that goes with a few of the Final Fantasy bosses, especially, I believe later on that gets even more so than in the first few, but I'm not entirely sure there.
Yeah, I mean, FF10 is a really boring and climatic fight. I mean, you have to fight against Jack, which is pretty cool, but even there, if you do it properly, you can't really die. And the actual final fight against you, you can't even die. Like, I mean, like, seriously, you have auto revive on, which gets renewed every time. Thank you. Ooh, thank you.
Oh, that hit though.
That was
probably the best possible outcome here, because not only are you immediately able to break him again, you also ended up completely filling up your X-Gouge,
which saves a lot. A few seconds. just
now,
need to...
now all you need to do is actually hit him. There we go.
18,050. That's good. So, now it's time for the final boss. This time we don't have any summons, so we have to do it with our crits and X-Bar alone. But yeah, once again, for any percent you actually can choose which character you want to play. Currently we're working on which character is the fastest, how long do you take with certain characters. Cloud and Squall are currently the fastest ones, but there are some characters we haven't tested yet. I actually want to try to test it with Firion, who's a really cool character.
It's kind of interesting that you mentioned Firion, because I remember back when we started, or when you started doing the stories, it seemed like Firion was going to be the slowest and one of the most boring characters out there.
Yeah.
And it's now seems to pretty much have turned into one of the more interesting characters to look at.
Yeah, the problem about Firion was that he's really boring. Because, you know, once I was a speedrunner like you, and then I took an arrow to the knee. To say it this way. It seriously... Firion just... No, I'm serious. Firion just spams his straight arrows,
Yeah,
and that's basically it.
He only uses a bow and arrow attack, which is why that reference.
Don't shake your
there.
heads, guys. I'm serious.
That's literally how that works.
Okay.
He's supposed to be the one of the most diverse characters out there, being able to use every single ability out there. But he basically only deals damage with arrows.
Okay.
Let's end this.
So, time for some good music. And Tech, get ready on time. Cool, get ready on time.
So here we go, final boss of the run.
Okay.
Okay,
Let me
yeah,
retry that.
this is one of those examples. He just starts hitting hard, and once it goes down early, you might as well just reset the fight, because that's faster than trying to recover from it. Especially if you haven't yet dealt any damage or anything. So again, waiting with actually getting the attack in, mostly so that you can try to break and deal a lot more damage as a result.
Don't think this will be enough.
I don't think so either, nah.
Oh,
actually,
time. That was more damage than expected.
What is the record on this story?
Yeah.
18?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, now this was 21.
21.
So it's still within 3 minutes. It's still really solid.
Still not bad, yeah.
So next up we have Ninja Gaiden, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is bound to be a fantastic run to watch. Really looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, any final words for Dissidia?
Yeah, that was Dissidia. I just want to give a quick shout out to my boy Cool joining me on the commentary. Also, another shout out to him and Lenofis, who helping me like moderating the whole game. We've changed a few things in a couple of weeks and tried to make it more reliable for all the people that want to learn it. If you want to learn it, just hit one of us up. We have there's a category for everyone, I can promise that. And yeah, shoutouts to all the other people. Like I said, this will be probably the last time I've done this speedrun percent at a BSG. Maybe next time any percent, we will see. And
Looks like the
yeah, that
kid will
was my
never grow
last
up.
couch appearance on the marathon. So